Here's your wrestling news for March 2nd, 2022. And your headlines for today include Cain Velasquez charged with attempted murder, mugshot leaked. New details reveal motive behind Cain Velasquez's attempted murder. WWE NXT superstar stretchered away from the ring tonight. Scott Hall reportedly hospitalized. Jeff Hardy expected to debut in AEW relatively soon. Backstage update on Johnny Gargano's AEW debut. Chavo Guerrero surprised about being removed from AEW roster page, questions Tony Khan. Major update on Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck trial. Extent of Ricochet's current push in WWE is undecided. Samoa Joe reveals real reason why he relinquished NXT title, and more. We are kicking off today with Cain Velasquez, as the former UFC and WWE star was recently involved in a shooting. Yesterday, we reported that the former UFC heavyweight champion was present at a shooting in San Jose, California, and now it appears that he did much more than just be there. In an update, San Jose's police confirmed that Velasquez had been arrested for what happened, and believing him to be the shooter, charged him with attempted murder. Velasquez has remained in police custody since the shooting, which left one person hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. In the same tweet where San Jose police confirmed the arrest, they shared Cain's mugshot, and a court date has been scheduled for today at noon Pacific time. After a dominant run in UFC, Cain joined WWE in 2019, but was released in April 2020 as part of the company's budget cuts. This is a difficult time for everyone involved, but we'll keep following this story as more information comes out. At the time that Velasquez was arrested, it was not clear what motive he had for the shooting, but now more shocking details about what transpired have come to light. In a huge update by the Mercury News, it's reported that Velasquez allegedly fired his gun at a car because one person in the vehicle, Harry Eugene Colarte, had been allegedly charged with molesting a relative of the former UFC champion. This relative, that we can't name for legal reasons, is under the age of 14, but when Cain allegedly fired, it didn't hit Harry, but wounded his stepfather instead. Colarte has been charged with one felony of a lewd act with a minor and was arraigned on Friday, with the judge granting him a supervised release. The car Velasquez is accused of firing at had another person inside in addition to Colarte and his stepfather. Colarte's stepfather is expected to survive as his injuries have been classed as non-life-threatening, and we'll hopefully know more after today's court date. NXT 2.0 news now, as Amari Miller was apparently injured during last night's episode. On the broadcast, Miller came up short to Lash Legend in a match which had instances of sloppy offense until Miller hit a moonsault for a close 2 count. Legend would turn the tide by sending her opponent into the turnbuckles before slamming her to get the win, and as seen in fan-recorded footage, Miller was checked on by ringside doctors after the match. The young superstar was then stretchered away, and fans in attendance noted that Miller may have taken a bad bump on her neck or head. There's no word on her condition at this time, but we're certainly hoping for the best for her after this incident during NXT 2.0. We've got some unfortunate news from Scott Hall now, as the Hall of Famer has been hospitalized with a broken hip. The 63-year-old legend broke his hip after suffering a fall, according to Jerry Jarrett, who shared the ordeal on Facebook. Hall was scheduled to be in Texas next month for WrestleMania 38 weekend, but there's no word yet on whether this is still the plan, and whatever the case is, we're hoping for a speedy recovery for the bad guy. Last December, WWE released Jeff Hardy from his contract after a worrying performance at a live event that the company had believed was due to drugs. Hardy was released after refusing to enter rehab and turned down an offer to return, complete with Hall of Fame induction, when his tests came back clean. Last month, Jeff said that he was going to AEW, but later clarified that this is what he hopes to do, and he's yet to sign a contract with the company, but putting his signature on the paperwork may just be a formality at this point. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that Hardy is expected to join AEW and relatively soon, saying, "Jeff Hardy should be in AEW relatively soon. Shane Strickland should be in soon. I don't know of anybody else off the top of my head coming in just yet. I think that there will be more. That's pretty much what's going on there." When Jeff turned down a WWE Hall of Fame induction, he said that he wants to be inducted alongside his brother Matt, and while the pair will seemingly be reunited soon, it won't be part of WWE. Last December also saw Johnny Gargano leave WWE, but unlike Jeff, he chose to depart the company after his contract with NXT 2.0 expired. Since leaving, it's been speculated that he'll soon join AEW, and those rumors got louder earlier this week when Gargano announced he was taking bookings. Gargano may eventually join AEW, but it won't happen just yet, as on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that the former superstar isn't expected to sign within the next month. When Gargano said he was taking bookings, it appears that this was only for indie shows, something the highly successful AEW, with its lucrative TV rights, clearly isn't. Gargano hasn't wrestled since leaving NXT 2.0, as after leaving WWE, he said he was going to focus on his wife Candice LeRae, and while their son Quill has since been born, don't expect Johnny Gargano to be challenging anyone in AEW for the time being. Over to AEW next, as Tony Khan has a huge roster of talented names, but not everyone is thrilled with the company's president. This week, Chavo Guerrero fired off against Khan after his profile was removed from the company's official roster. On AllEliteWrestling.com, the former Cruiserweight champion has had his entire profile removed, and in a since-deleted tweet, Guerrero didn't mince words, saying, "That's news to me. I guess having Tony Khan telling me to go film Young Rock Season 2 and my job will be waiting for me when I'm done didn't mean much." Guerrero joined AEW in July 2021 as the manager for Andrade El Idolo, but was written off TV in September thanks to an attack by the former NXT champion. Chavo isn't just signed to AEW, but also works as the wrestling coordinator for Young Rock, which details the formative years of Dwayne Johnson. Chavo's profile being deleted comes at a time where Tony Khan is having to decide who stays with AEW, as it's been previously reported that Brian Cage, Joey Janela, and others are expected to be heading out of the company. And while Cage's contract has been renewed for another year, Guerrero may not be so lucky. A big name that comes from a lineage of fantastic wrestlers, Chavo will surely be able to find work if his days in AEW are over, but he doesn't appreciate being removed from the site without being told by anyone. In 2020, Vince McMahon brought back the XFL, but once again, the alternative to the NFL didn't last long. Due to circumstances beyond McMahon's control, the league was canceled within weeks of play, which led to XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck suing WWE's chairman. Luck claims that McMahon breached his contract when the latter fired him on April 9th, just days before the XFL filed for bankruptcy. We now have an update, as in Sunday's daily update from the Wrestling Observer, it said that the trial will officially begin on July 11th. McMahon and his company, Alpha Entertainment, have claimed that Luck destroyed evidence within an hour of being fired. Last September, the courts dismissed Luck's claim that McMahon had violated the implied covenant of good faith between the two parties, and we'll just have to see what comes out when they go to trial this July. Back to the ring now, as Ricochet has been one of WWE's most underutilized talents for a long time now, but is reportedly going to be getting a big push very soon. Yesterday, we reported that the one and only is being considered as the number 2 babyface on SmackDown, only behind Drew McIntyre, and he even has an Intercontinental Championship match this Friday. When Ringside News asked about the reports of this big push, their sources within WWE advised not to get too excited, pointing out that this isn't the first time a report of a push for Ricochet has come out. Reports like these have surfaced in the past, and nothing really came of it, and circumstances now seem to be repeating themselves. One source said that Ricochet is having a good week this week, implying that this could all easily change, and another added that, "We've been down this road before, let's see if it lasts." With in-ring abilities and charisma, Ricochet could be a huge name in AEW, while Vince McMahon would seemingly rather see him in catering, and while the one and only could soon be Intercontinental Champion, there's no telling how long McMahon's interest in him will last. And we're ending today with NXT, and when the brand was revamped into NXT 2.0 last September, the roster for the show underwent a major overhaul, as many wrestlers just didn't fit into Vince McMahon's vision for the show. Samoa Joe clearly didn't fit into McMahon's vision, as the only 3-time NXT champion was released this January, shortly after being forced to relinquish the title. At the time, there was a ton of speculation as to why Joe vacated the title, just a month after dethroning Karrion Kross, and according to Joe, a positive test derailed all plans for him, as he told Bustin' Open Radio, "I popped for COVID. It was the weekend, my wife was making stew and I couldn't smell it. She said, "Wow, doesn't that smell great?" I tested positive on Saturday. By then, Vince wanted to go in a different direction with NXT and wanted to have the new opening with NXT 2.0 be with a bang, and I agreed with him. I said, "If that's the case, this is probably what's best for what your vision is for this product." I went behind the scenes and started working with talent on a one-to-one basis, pulling guys individually in open gyms, working with them, and focusing on these new tremendous prospects that were brought in and people that were hungry to learn and excited about this newfound opportunity. It was invigorating for me. When you're working with younger talent that are hungry and want to succeed on a high level, it amps up your own spirit. I was delving into that heavily, working with Matt Bloom on revising things, training techniques, and evaluating what we were doing already and seeing if we could do it better. That was really the end of my tenure at WWE. Joe hasn't wrestled since being released, but will be inducted into the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame later this week, and it remains to be seen what the former NXT champion does next in the squared circle. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.